doing our live today with Sandra Hinojosa, her book on Chica Why Not.
Hi,
Oh, hi, how are you, Sandra?
I am very good. Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, thank you for giving us the time. My name is Veronica. Out of
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. We're part of the Read Amigas book club, and wow, I can't like explain how amazing it is that it just happened that you reached out to us regarding your book. And I was the only person, we were already planned with interviewing authors, to start picking a new book for our next one because it's going to be ending soon. It's so crazy that they're like, Vero, who's going to be your author? And I'm like, I don't know. I still haven't found one yet. I'm still searching and I'm DMing a couple of people. And you popped in our DMs and we're like, oh my God, how amazing.
It was
So,
manifested.
yeah, it was amazing. It was perfect timing. I was like, yes, thank you, thank you. So, how amazing is this book? I mean, it almost seems like it just falls right after us reading I Am Diosa. Have you read
I
that
know.
book?
Yes, and actually, I adore Christine Gutierrez. She actually was one of the people that read my book, and in my website, I actually have a review from her. I just adore her work. I think it's so beautiful, and it's so complementary to what my book is because it's really about connecting with your truth and connecting with who you are. And there's no better way to align than doing that.
Yeah, I was like reading a little bit on your website about the book, and I was like, oh my God, it aligns so perfectly after ending this book to continue to work on ourselves, continue to manifest, and continue to learn about yourself to go beyond of what you kind of block yourself with obstacles and you give like the tools to go beyond that. I think after uncovering so many like Christine says, bones, that you dig up that you don't know that were there and were kind of affecting you in your life, you're like ready to like start taking over and manifesting.
Yeah,
Book is
and
perfect.
become very intentional about the things that you're doing, right? Not letting the bones kind of rule your life anymore.
Yes. So first off, I want to start with the first question. And this is a question that we ask a lot of our guest is, were you always an avid reader? Did you love reading when you were younger? How did you get into reading? And also, how did you get into wanting to write a book?
Yeah, so I've always been a reader. To be honest, I read mostly fiction and things like that. It was in 2006, I had this casual conversation with someone where I was feeling extremely stuck in life. I was feeling extremely dissatisfied. And I had this casual conversation about this guy. Um, really, just one day he stopped complaining, and 5 years later, he was the president of the company. And I'm like, what? I was known for complaining. So, shortly after that conversation, I found Ask and It Is Given by Esther Hicks. And I
Okay.
became obsessed with the topic of like, can you actually manifest? Can you actually create? And I started becoming more and more of a reader. Right now, I probably read a book a month, and it's usually around the same topics because I'm just fascinated to learn how the brain works, fascinated to learn how we can create our own reality. So I am just fascinated with reading, and I'm actually reading Ask and It Is Given again right now. I thought to celebrate my book coming out, I am going to read the book that started it all.
I'm actually writing that one down. I need to get that one in
Oh,
the library.
it is a classic. It is a classic book, and it's probably, I say there are four books that changed my life. That was the first one, for sure.
That's awesome. I love that there's these books, and I think yours is going to be one of them that you can
I
always go
hope
back
so.
later on in life, right? It's like a tool for you.
Yeah, I hope so. And then I became a writer because, so it's funny because I started in this path around 2006, and within 5 years, I had manifested everything I wanted, like a better job, an international assignment, my husband, my home, everything. And So a lot of my friends have started coming to me for advice, like, Sandra, how do I do this? Or how do I create this? And I realized that most of the advice that I gave was the same over and over and over. And my friends kept saying, Sandra, you should write a book. Sandra, you should write a book. And in 2015, I certified as a coach, and then I started working as a coach. And again, I started seeing the same patterns, and I'm like, I am going to write this book. Maybe it can provide a framework for people to move forward. And I signed up to Hay House Writers Workshop in 2018 and submitted my proposal, and I won. So now my book is being published by Hay House.
That is wow, that is so awesome. You make it sound like it was just like so easy, right? Like it was like I submitted it there, I'm done.
Yeah, they picked it.
Congratulations. That is awesome. I love, like, I think I read Christine's review, and it's awesome to see more Latinas in this field and more books and, with the manifestation and working on ourselves. I just love that. And you mentioned that you're also a life coach.
Yes.
Um, so do you do a little bit of both, focusing on your book and then still doing life coach?
Well, so right now I do one-on-one clients. So I do the book stuff, but then I do a few one-on-one clients. Right now I have a reduced load because of the book that's coming out. But the book is actually all written by coaching because I had an idea what the steps were going to be. There are 6 steps in the book: clarity, collaboration, commitment, curiosity, compassion, and continuity, which is really just being aware. And I had some idea of the steps, but I didn't know exactly how they should go, how they should flow. So I offer free coaching in the summer of 2018, and I did 51 Latinas, Spanish and English speaking Latinas. I did 51 Latinas and did like an hour and a half session. And he's like, okay, what do you want to work on? We walked through steps, and by the end of that summer, I had, okay, these are the 6 steps, and this is how they're going to go. Now, in a coaching session, um, you move the client forward through questioning, right, and through bringing new new ideas or new perspectives. But how do you do that in a book, right? Like you can tell them stuff, but it's not the same than actually doing the exercise. So I
Right.
came up with exercises and then validated them by doing group coaching. So I did 2 cohorts of group coaching to evaluate all of the exercises. So at the end, the book is based in about 100 Latinas that I spoke to and worked with to come up with what's the fastest way to get you from point A to point B when it comes to, for example, the step of clarity. I just want to be happy, but I don't even know what that means for me. Okay, how do I walk you through exercises that will help you get some clarity on what are the things that you want to work on? Or I know what I want to do, but I don't know how to do that. So how do I help you get there, right? Or I know what I want to do, but I work really hard and things are not happening to me. So how do you do the law of attraction there, for example? So all those little steps. So the book was born from coaching.
Awesome. Oh my God, that is so cool. One question, you said you did it all on Latina women. Do you think it could work on men in case like husbands or somebody reads it?
It can, absolutely. My husband, I'm all the time telling him it can definitely work. The reason I did it with women is because um, it was always in my mind that I wanted to speak mostly to women. Actually, the name of the book is Chica Why Not, right? But it works. It works. And I also wanted, like Christine said, this is a very white dominated space, male white dominated space. There are not that many women out there. And I really wanted the book to be speaking to Latina women because I don't think that, I was so happy when I saw Christine's book because I'm like, yes, I am Diosa, like it's speaking to us, right? And I had kind of like the same intention that this book was going to speak to us. So my stories are very much about growing up in Mexico, in a Mexican family. Um, immigrating, moving to different countries, and so it's really um, each one of the steps starts with a story where I kind of found that step or how that step worked in my life, and it's really about the Mexican story. I even put in a little bit of Spanglish in there.
Awesome. I love that. That's cool. Wow, that is so cool. So I have another question. How did you get into wanting to have this launch group? I love that you also sent us that link of having this launch and having all those freebies. I was like, oh my God, how cool is that?
Well, I wanted to do it. To be honest, most of the big authors do launch teams. They're called launch team or street teams,
Okay.
and I wanted I wanted to get to a point where my book launches April 27th, where I can look back April 28th. I wake up in the morning, April 28th, and I look back and I say, I did everything I could to make sure that this book reached all the women and all the men that needed this book.
Hmm.
So I was talking to another fellow author, Nikki Nash. She's writing a book that's coming out, I think, in July. It's called Market Your Genius. And I was talking to her, and she's like, "Oh, you should have a launch team." And I'm like, "Yeah," I'm like taking notes and put it together. So I'm hoping it goes well. By the way, we're just getting started. So if anybody wants to join the launch team, send me a DM, and I'll happy put you in. You get to read the book ahead of time before it launches. So
Yes, you guys get the free ebook version if you sign up and buy the book and
yeah,
pre-order it.
pre-order
So
it, and then you get the book. Yeah.
yeah, that's all awesome. Um, and I want to go a little bit more into people wanting to know more about your book. And you did mention that on every step you mentioned a story of a background from your own life experiences, right? So
Mhm.
tell us a little bit more on that.
Yeah, so for example, the book actually starts with how did I come up with intentional, right? Intentional, by the way, is one of my favorite words. I knew that the first book I wrote had to have intentional in the title,
Mm-hmm.
and it does. Um, yeah, like I talk about how I first discovered all of this. I told you a little bit, in 2006, wasn't feeling very excited about my life, heard a discussion, and then shortly after I learned about Abraham Hicks, and then I started studying. And so every chapter has a little bit of a story of how that specific step worked in my life. Like, for example, in the case of curiosity, I talk about this story with my boyfriend at the time, now my husband, where I always went around. I would never, I will never have a relationship for more than 4 months. At the 4-month mark, I don't know how it will happen, but the relationship will like completely dissolve, like explode. And we had this thing where, for example, we went up for a barbecue with friends, and I arrived really late. We weren't living together at the time, so and this place was like kind of halfway between my home and his home, so we were just gonna meet there. I arrived extremely late. Didn't have my cell phone with me, and they were up in the patio in the terrace. So it was like a town home, and it had a terrace, so they couldn't hear the bell. And so I was so mad, and I was making all these stories in my head of how he was disrespecting me, how he was being mean, how if he really loved me, he would have waited for me in the living room by himself, even though his friends were having fun. Like I just kept going, and so finally, long story short, like 20 minutes later, they heard the bell and they came and got me, and I went up. And I was so mad at him. I was like being all like, he's like, "Are you hungry?" I was hungry 20 minutes ago. Like I was being like so petty. And then at the end, after the party, like I completely rain in everyone's parade. And after the party, he tells me, Sandra, neither me or my friends, we will never want to hurt you on purpose. And I remember hearing those words, and I'm like, what? And that was the first time I remember becoming curious. Like, was I expecting to be hurt? And that's when I started realizing the pattern in my life where in relationships, especially, I always expected to be hurt. I
Mm-hmm.
always expected that people were going to betray me, people were going to walk away. But the truth was that a lot of it was stories in my head. So I would go into a relationship thinking that it was going to self implode, you know. So that was the first time I became curious. So now the chapter then talks about curiosity, really just becoming very curious about the stories we tell ourselves that are really preventing us from moving forward, from reaching everything we want, or from, you know, if you think about the law of attraction, just keeping your energy high so that you can manifest what you want in your life.
Yeah. I do hear some people sometimes they say like, do you always just have to pretend that you're happy so that you can always just manifest it? And I always think about it, I'm like, no, you shouldn't, but you also shouldn't stay stuck in a negative phase, right? What would you tell people some that are like that, like, well, you're always just faking to be happy just to make things happen.
Yeah, no, and that doesn't work either because that's another thing in the book. The first 5 years, when I first started doing the law of attraction, I was manifesting left and right. Like anything I wanted, I could make it happen. Like I even signed up for a contest with Coca-Cola, and I won this contest where I could carry an Olympic torch. Like anything I wanted, like seriously, like anything I wanted, I could create. But then I moved so I was doing that being positive. Things will happen, and I'm like, no, 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 la, 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 no, no, no. So
Mm-hmm.
the positive of that is I became very good at knowing how to keep my energy high, even though things were happening around me. But the bad thing is I wasn't dealing with all the triggers and all the things that are normal in a human. If you've been in Earth long enough, you have something that every now and then comes up.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has it. So I moved at the time I got an international assignment and I moved to England. And I was in England for 3 years and it was such a different place from where I live. And a lot of my insecurities, a lot of my fears, a lot of limiting beliefs started coming up. And that's when I realized that, and I lost my ground, like everything I had created all of a sudden was in jeopardy. And that's when I realized that you can't fake it. Eventually it will catch up with you. You
Yeah.
actually have to create a space for the feeling. The feelings are actually just telling you there is something you need to pay attention to. And
Yeah.
then that's what curiosity is about. Like, okay, something's happening. What do I do now? And then just very compassionately, don't judge it, don't hate it, don't say that's wrong, this is right. No, it's just, okay, this is what it is. And from where I am, what is my next best step? And I recently posted in my Instagram, the next best step is what is the most loving thing I can do for myself right now. And sometimes the most loving thing is crying. Sometimes the most loving thing is putting on lipstick and going out with your friends. You know, sometimes the best next steps is journaling. You know, what is the most loving steps? And that's a compassionate side of things. And then once you do that, you know, things will happen. They always happen. But then you just kind of like, oh, that was the continuity step, the awareness that, oh, there is something happening. So I'm going to become curious about it.
And start moving.
I think it froze.
Oh,
Sorry.
it did. It's okay.
So then you realize, okay, something's happening. Now I'm going to become curious about it. And then I'm just going to love myself through this stage of what's going on. And what I noticed is that something that could last, when the UK happened, that lasted for me 2 years, where I couldn't find my ground again. And now things happen, and it takes me 20 minutes. It takes me a day. It takes me 3 days to get over it, when before it would take me months, right? So I
Mm,
actually think going through them is a faster road than trying to go around them because
yeah.
they always catch up with you.
Yeah. I love how right now you just the way you said it, and it like it goes to what we preach in this book club is self-care. And that you just mentioned how, like own what's going on and then just start taking care of yourself to make yourself feel good again. and love yourself and whatever it is to take care of yourself, to start moving forward from that on what you already like acknowledge. This is what's happening now. Let's start going forward. How do I work on it?
Yeah.
And that's all connected. That is so true. I never saw it in that form. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I love, for example, we were talking about Christine's book because I think Christine books really helps you connect with with spirit and who you really are. And I really think, my journey started about how do I manifest a home? How do I manifest a husband? How do I manifest, a good job? But as you go through this, you realize that the journey is really how do I keep expanding and how do I keep growing and how do I keep loving myself? And then the manifestation, I mean, it's still cool that you can manifest that, but then the manifestation is more of a indicator of where you are in relationship with yourself and with the universe.
Yeah, like they say, right? You like you're good for your, like, as long as you start working on yourself, then everything else falls in place.
Absolutely.
And that is, I really believe in that. And I think your book definitely focuses on giving you the structure and the tools to start aligning with yourself so that everything starts falling into place for what you really want, and you stop putting those, barriers that you're blocking yourself. That
Yeah.
is, I'm so glad to have come across your book, and with you, I mean, we follow your page now, and it's amazing. All the things you put, the quotes, it's so amazing. I honestly think that, we always usually for our book picks, we put the books, about three of them, we put three of them, and then we let the readers choose and they vote. But honestly, I think because of how this book relates so much into almost like then like a second part to Diosa, I recommend it so much for all of our amigas that have read our I Am Diosa book, that they just follow this one as well, even if it's not picked. We have our brunch.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah. They complement beautifully. And I am a huge fan of Christine's work as well. I always say, you're my teacher.
yeah, like a mentor, and we love how involved she is in everything. She's always reposting, liking, commenting, and we're like, we love it. You just feel that she is a part of you and guiding you through, and even in her book. So I honestly feel your book, it just piggybacks right after hers, that you just need to continue that soul work, continue that manifestation with yourself. So it's so amazing. Again, Sandra, I can't thank you enough for just manifesting this, because we also manifested that we needed great authors.
No,
So
I am so happy it worked out. And like you said, I love, I was going through all the book selections that you guys had, and they're always so much about, growth and creating a better life for yourself. So continue with the good work because I really think there's so much space in our community to keep bringing in this message. And that's another big thing that I really believe that as we find this bigger light in our lives for ourselves, we're also creating that for all the generations before us and for
yeah.
all the generations that come after us. I have an 8-year-old, and it is my hope that he doesn't have to go through a lot of the things I went through before I figure it out.
Hmm.
We'll see. He's got his own journey, but I'm hoping some of these tools will help him
Oh,
earlier in life than they did for me.
yes, definitely. And like you say, like, women first, it's something that's new and empowering. But also our generation, our background, coming from Hispanic Latina women, it's also something that is not as known out there. And I think starting that, I think a lot of I'm first generation. My parents never really talked about this or any of that. So I'm also so happy that I'm starting it for my kids. And, some stuff I try to sneak it in there and talk to my parents about it. And sometimes they want to hear, and sometimes, no, 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 eso no sirve. But I still put it out there, I put it out there just in case they do need to hear it, or just know that it's out there. And there's different help now, it's different.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's great work you guys are doing as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sandra. Is there anything else you want to share about your book that our readers, should know and and sign up for your.
Yeah, so the book is available for pre-order now. It is coming out April 27th. Um, any um, questions that you have or anything, I'll be happy to chat with you about it. And the only thing too, we just started the launch team. So if anybody wants to see the behind the scenes of launching a book and wants to have a first go at reading the book, please feel free to join to send me a DM and I'll invite you to the group. And also I was gonna say if you guys pick the book and it is you want to start it before April 27, I'll happily share the book as well. So you get a first go of the book before it's published.
Awesome. Thank you, Sandra. It's so exciting. Again, I really hope that it gets voted and picked because it just aligns right after. Pero si no, I'll still be buying it because I really like that it just continues to work on myself with after finishing I Am Diosa book. So it's definitely a book to have in my library, for continue to work on myself and recommend it to people or even to my kids. I have a teenage daughter, so I think it'll definitely help her as.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing this space with me and for your support.
Thank you, Sandra. Okay, we'll be in touch and can't wait for the book to be out and continue to share with everybody and all of our amigas.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.